The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister can't justify the use of the Emergencies Act. He can't explain which tool has been used, which steps were taken before this exceptional legislation was resorted to. He can't cover up his lack of leadership and his missing in action approach. I'd like him to enlighten us today. What tools and what steps were taken in the past weeks that failed so badly as to justify resorting to the Emergencies Act, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. The government has taken a lot of concrete steps to deal with the illegal blockades. For example, we offered more resources to police forces, and the results yielded some progress, but at the same time, the blockades have caused a lot of frustration for police. That's one of the reasons why we introduced the Emergencies Act, and we will continue to provide all the tools police need. Thank you. The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, Quebec and other provinces have the situation under control, and they did it without using the Emergencies Act, and they want nothing to do with that legislation. And they've been told that. But the Prime Minister has resorted to exceptional legislation without consulting anyone. Will he respect the will of those provinces who want nothing to do with this legislation, like Quebec? The Honourable Minister. The short answer is yes. We consulted with all the provinces and territories, and the way this Emergencies Act works is in cooperation with all provincial authorities. Our duty is to keep working with the provinces and territories and the municipalities and local police to put an end to these blockades. It's time for that now. Thank you. The honourable member for Richmond-Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, for 3 weeks, the Prime Minister has done nothing. He poured oil on the fire by provoking demonstrators and even went into hiding during this crisis. And now, in order to boost his own image, he's invoking the Emergencies Act. Unlike the Liberals, the provinces have taken action and are handling the situation responsibly and peacefully. Can the Prime Minister confirm that he won't use the emergency powers against Quebec and other provinces that are opposed to them? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, police forces have spent a lot of time and effort in trying to control the situation on the ground. For example, today, there's dialogue between police and the leaders of the blockade to encourage them to leave now. That would be the best, most effective solution. And we will continue to provide all the resources and tools the police need. The honourable member for Richmond-Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, the fact is that the provinces have handled these situations with strong leadership. That's what's lacking on the Liberal side. The Prime Minister is invoking the Emergencies Act to relieve himself of his responsibility for a crisis that he fueled himself by stigmatizing the demonstrators that were here in Ottawa. Imagine, this Prime Minister wants to manage the border between Ukraine and Russia when he can't even manage Wellington Street right here in front of Parliament. The Honourable Minister. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect for my colleague, there is no justification for the illegal blockades. No justification whatsoever. The debate about the pandemic here in the House is very important, but the way the blockades are out there in the streets and at the borders, that's unacceptable. And that's why we introduced the Emergencies Act to help police put an end to the blockades. Thank you.
Middlesex, London.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And the lack of this action from this government has resulted in the reactive to ending the protests and blockades. In invoking the measures, the Emergencies Measures Act is the most reactive step taken to date. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are looking for hope and for a plan. This government decided to vote against having a plan. What proactive steps did the Prime Minister actually take prior to putting in into these restrictions?
None.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we've been clear of being there every step of the way to support law enforcement as this situation continued. But I think it's important to reflect on the steps the Conservative Party took during this process, starting with the interim leader who said that I don't think that we should ask these people to go home, inferring that they should take this as a political opportunity. The member for Carleton, who's a leadership aspirant, saying that I stand with the illegal activity that is occurring outside, saying that he should keep the momentum going. And of course, this continues with the member for Yorkton Melville, Saskatoon Grassland, Cypress Hills Grassland. Again and again and again, they encourage that.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
And thank you very much. And perhaps the House Leader didn't understand. What I'm looking for is an answer to the plans and what this Prime Minister has actually done.
What's the plan?
Step one, he stigmatized, he traumatized, and he divided Canadians, just as this House Leader is doing today. Step two, he hid in the cottage. He did not react. When things were going on there, we did not hear from the Prime Minister. Step three, he whipped his caucus where every single member, with the exception of one, voted against a plan. Mr. Speaker, this leadership has failed. Period. Failed. What actions did the Prime Minister actually take prior to putting in these restrictions?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Every one of us walks through what is going on outside every day. We see the residents of Ottawa be terrorized by this illegal occupation that's occurring. And I want to ask the members opposite, will they stand today clearly, every single one of them, and say it's time to go home? Will they stand, every single one of them, to stop tweeting, stop encouraging, stop saying things like keep the momentum going, and instead ask for those folks who are outside to go home, to make sure that this illegal activity is not something that a party that's supposed to be standing for law and order stands with?
Honorable